Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. SAG-AFTRA Foundation and BroadwayWorld continue their filmed Conversation Q&A series, which celebrates the vibrant theater community here in New York City. This event, which is coming from the Robin Williams Center, is a special conversation with one of the theater's most sought-after classical actors. He has recently won an Obie Award for his riveting performance in the Bruce Norris play The Low Road. And now he is back at the Public Theater's Shakespeare in the Park in the title role of Othello, electrifying both critics and audiences alike. Please welcome Chukwudi Iwuji. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, you are electrifying as Othello. How did this role come about for you?
It sort of fell in my lap, which is wonderful. I was filming a film of King Lear in London last year, and because I think there's always a slightly, the universe sometimes gets involved with some of these things. You can strive for stuff and never get it, and then you're having a cup of tea in the morning and the biggest job of your life falls in your lap. So I was filming Lear in London, and on the first day of filming, I had this wonderful conversation with Anthony Hopkins, who was playing Lear. And after the conversation, he looked at me and went, "You must be ready for your Lear, for your Othello. You must be ready for your Othello." And I looked at him like, "Yes." And I like, I mean, what do you say when a man like that says that? And then I got back to New York about 3 weeks later or something. I finished filming and I came back, and I suddenly got I was having a conversation with my manager about how, okay, I'm about to start The Low Road. Yeah. I've just done Hedda Gabler in London and stuff. I've really enjoyed filming, you know. After I finish The Low Road, let's focus on filming and stuff just for a while, you know what I mean? Because the play, we'll probably talk about this later, rehearsals and stuff take so much out of you, you know. And I said to my manager, look, barring Othello in the Park, I really don't want to do another play. And a week later, the call came
through.
They kind of want to meet you for Othello in the Park. So then I sat down with the wonderful Ruben Santiago Hudson, and we spoke about the play for 2 hours, and just discussing his ideas, my ideas, and I got the call.
Yeah, because you were both on the same page with your director, right? Talk about those early conversations.
Yeah, it's such a hard play because historically it's gone through so many different shifts. There was a time, 150 or plus years ago, everyone wanted to play Othello. White actors, of course, because black actors weren't playing Othello. I mean, Ruben was telling me all about this. And it's funny because I've written a screenplay about the great Ira Aldridge. And right up to Ira playing it, it was a role that, he took over from the great Edmund Kean. Yeah. So it was a role they wanted. And then suddenly Ira plays it, and then black guys start playing it, and then Robeson plays it, and suddenly the white actors that wanted to play Othello now want to play Iago. And so for a long time, this play became a vehicle for usually very well-known, famous white actors to showcase themselves as Iago, with the Othello often becoming a sort of afterthought. And that carried on for a while, and then more recently, as things have changed, that shift has sort of evened out a bit. So one of the big things I spoke to Ruben about, I said, Ruben, look, we have to bring this back to the love story, right? There's a reason why he called it Othello. There's a reason why that was the role that was coveted for so long. And he agreed, because he's a romantic, and he said to me, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Because that's why he hasn't played it. He's never been able to find a director he felt would take care of him in the role. Because it's so hard, because Iago is a phenomenal role. It's the role that gets to talk to the audience for the whole first half. He dictates what's happening. He's moving the chess. We're seduced by characters like that. So I said the only way I could sustain this character, and the only way that it could work, and the only way that Act 5, Scene 2 can work, after I kill her and stuff, spoiler alert, is the only way that can happen is that if we've invested enough at the beginning, literally 2 scenes, of the love these two have together, that the alternate name for this play could be The Greatest Love Story That Never Was. So once I knew he was there, and the other thing I insisted on is that Othello really goes mad. It's not just anger, it's not just jealousy, it's like mad. And he doesn't have to stay there. And what makes this role the hardest role I've ever played is that he's constantly doing that back and forth, mad, sane, angry in love all the time. But he has to go mad. And if we agree with those three things, that you'll take care of me, that we invest in the love story and bring it back to the love story, and you allow me to go wherever that takes us mad, then, and he agreed with all those things. So it was great.
You know, because I love seeing the revelations that your Othello goes through between Acts 1 and Act 2, and I've never seen that in any other production. Like you said, how many of you have seen Othello already? How many of you want to go see Othello? Yes. A lot of people are telling me they're trying for the lottery and everything, the lotto. It is the lotto of theater, isn't it? The lottery. Yeah. But I just love how, what's that?
I wish I did. I wish I did, mate.
You know, you're all on an even keel now, like you said, all the characters. It's really interesting. Not, you know, Iago doesn't stand out anymore. You all stand out. Which I love.
Including the women.
Yeah,
which is very crucial in this, especially in our time right now. You know. I think it always boggles my mind how people is a shortcut. You know, we're obsessed with shortcuts in general, and in the industry, sadly, people often look for shortcuts, and the shortcut would be to get a couple of mega stars and then say, okay, people are going to come see them, we're going to fill the seats, it's fine. Or you get a director and a production where you just go, actually, no, the most important thing is the whole play. And for the whole play to work, we've got to get the right actors. And for the right actors to work, we've got to make sure that we invest in all of them. And then people come and see a story. They don't come to see a star turn.
Yep.
You know, so.
You know, you had played Othello before. Were you like 20?
I was in college. It was the last show I did at Yale. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember it. I think my no, I seriously, I don't remember much about it, and I feel sad. I know it did very well because I remember there were lines to come in and see, and I think we might have extended, but I genuinely don't remember anything I did, which is probably good because it must have been shocking what I did at 20. Do you know what I mean? Like, what the hell do I know at 20? But I had the confidence, but probably not the skill set.
So it's funny when you talk to like musical theater actors or other actors, sometimes parts stay in your muscle memory, but there are a lot of actors who will do something again and say, I totally forget the first version of this I did. And it's so interesting that I would think you would hold something, but
some roles are still there. I think it depends on how you meet them, where you meet them, how you sing it. I mean, clearly, an indication that I can't remember much is I probably didn't really mine into it. I think, you know, at that age and stuff, it was more presentational, you know. But when I think of the roles that I've really mined into, you know, Hamlet will stay with me forever, you know, whole speeches of it. Don't test me on it, but I think whole speeches of it will stay with me. The big chunks of Henry VI, which you mentioned, which I did closed 10 years ago, will stay with me. But it just depends on, I think it's an indication of how much you've mined into it, you know.
And you're at the right age to do these now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, look, Othello is one of those roles where, you know, I could play him in 20 years and it'd probably still be okay. I don't think I want to. Yeah. I genuinely think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's one of those great roles you can do time. I have no interest in doing it again. I think, I mean, I say that now. Talk to me in like 10, 15 years, I might want to revisit it. But the way I feel is I feel we've got a great production, and I think I've mined what I want in Othello, and I don't have a burning. The only role I've ever had a burning role to play again is Hamlet, only because it's the most complete role ever written, and that I don't care how well you do it, there's always another version of it you could have done because it's so complete. That's the only role I feel I ever need to come back to.
Because you had just recently worked with Jude Law. Yeah. Right? You had done a film version of Obsession, right?
Well, there's a play version that was filmed of
and
Obsession.
Your director was?
Eva Van Hove again.
Let's hear you say that name. So I'm sure you and Jude had conversations because Jude Law was here in New York as Hamlet. We all fell in love with him as Hamlet here. What kind of conversations do you have about Hamlet?
Well, it's funny because
role?
It is. We have this you know, as actors, we're supposed to be generous, right? And we're supposed to want to go and see other actors play roles. Sometimes roles we've played, sometimes roles we want to play, and you know, support them and all that. And I agree with that. Yeah. But there was something about Hamlet, and I was, you know, Jude and I we'd been rehearsing for several weeks and talking and stuff, and you know, I knew he'd played it. We'd asked each other odd questions. Then finally one afternoon, I was like, because there was a Hamlet happening in London with Andrew Scott. And I finally went, are you going to go see it? And Jude was like, I don't know, are you going to go see it? And I was like, I don't know, are you going to go see it? Then he said, I don't think I am. And I went, you know what, I know I'm not, you know. And then we had the conversation where there's something about that role that is so, it's like going to see someone else sleep with my wife. It's like I can't, it's so intimate and it takes so much out of you. And you're so proud playing it. It's such a pinnacle that you're like, you've arrived, that the idea of someone, and Jude, funnily enough, said that when he was doing his Hamlet, Alan Rickman sent him a note saying, I would love to come see you, but I just can't, you know, because he played it, you know. And so there's something about that role. There is, it's the most brilliant human study I've ever come across. And I think there's a reason why it gets better. Now, not every Hamlet is like this, but it was funny to meet someone else and then hear about someone else who felt the same way.
You're all on the same page. You know, you're also working with some of the greatest actors in this production of Othello. I mean, Corey Stoll, Heather Lind. What's it like sharing the stage with them?
Oh, they're just ultimate pros and very talented and very generous people, and Alison Wright also, and Babbitt. And I mean, there's that's what I came back in my initial point. Bravo for picking a cast, not just a star, you know. Because when you have a cast, it makes life easier, because you come and you bounce off someone who's giving you stuff and they bounce off you, and you're generous because you're secure in the fact that you know what you're doing and they know what they're doing. And we have fun also. It's a crazy bunch, you know. Peter J. Fernandez and you know, there's some funny people in there. You need humor in that, especially the more tragic, you know, you really need humor. But ultimately, it's just looking around, and I think people have been commenting on it that I've come to see, saying they can't remember ever seeing such a strong cast, ensemble together. Everyone brings it to the table.
What makes Ruben such a sought-after and wonderful director to work with?
His humanity. He has a real, you know, he's got a very, I love the man. He's very, you know, he's got a lot of, he's macho, you know what I mean? He's got that thing. But at the heart, there's a big heart at the heart of that. I think that's one of the most attractive combinations in people, is when they have this, but you know, there's real warmth. And I think his approach to Othello sort of proves what I feel about him, which is that he's a deep romantic who really wants to tell a love story. But he also understands the politics around it, you know? And I think you just have confidence in him. He's like an NFL coach also. Some days he knows when he has to be the coach. Some days he knows when he has to be the teacher. Some days he knows when he has to be the artist. Some days he knows when he has to be the actor, literally get on that stage and say, do it like this. He doesn't like to do that, in all fairness. But it's great having an actor direct you also. Because I think sometimes directors have never experienced what it's like to be on that stage. I've never experienced. So it's great to have someone that understands. He gives you room. He really gives you a lot of room to try and try and try. And then it's like, all right, why not this, you know? So you have a real positive energy. You have a wonderful, healthy ego. I think all the great directors I've worked with have phenomenal egos. You know.
They're in charge.
Yeah, in charge of a lot. And a lot is hanging on their shoulders. I think you need it. The best directors I've worked with all have this crazy, but it's an ego that's supported by the work. It's not just one that's born of fear and insecurity, you know.
What was the rehearsal process like? We have a lot of actors here and a lot of actors will be watching around the world. Like rehearsing Othello with that group, where do you start? Do you come in with your lines already memorized? What do you do?
Well, I do. I'm, which is I think is why I got on so well with Ivo, because Ivo wants that. You know, with Ivo Van Hove, if you ever work with him, you actually arrive on the first of rehearsal and you actually start rehearsing in your costumes. And if not on the stage, on a replica of the stage. So there's no sudden thing of tech or dress rehearsal, surprises like that. You're just into it. And they're making adjustments, and you know what I mean? And that's why he loves short rehearsal processes. He doesn't want too much time because you're right in it. And anyway, so it worked really well with him because I've always believed in coming in if you can. I mean, sometimes schedules don't allow it. I mean, if you're shooting a series where they're throwing lines at you every day and you have a kid at home or a couple of kids, you just don't have the time. I get that, but I don't have a kid, not that I know of. And so I had time. So what I did was I go around the city. My process is really awkward because I think people sometimes want to hear something really fascinating about going to the zoo and watching gazelles or something. And I genuinely just learn the lines. I drill those lines till I could say them doing the washing up or ordering my, drill them. So that when I get into the room, I trust that I have natural instincts and I trust my impulses and I trust my brain. But then ultimately I trust the director and the other actors in the room. And if I know my lines, I can be watching the other actors in the room. I can be watching their reactions as opposed to being stuck in the page. I can be seeing what they're doing and adjust, because you're always going to have an idea of what you want to do. And that's wonderful because directors love you coming in with ideas. But what you have to be is malleable also. If I've come in here thinking this and Corey decides that whatever, and I go, actually, you've got to have the generosity to understand when something better than what you've thought of is being presented to you or something. I always say yes. Ruben was talking to me about that. He says one thing he loves about me is that I'll always try it, even if in my head I'm screaming, no friggin' way. Yeah. I can't really swear on this, can I? No swearing. Okay, because I have to remember that. I change it. Really friggin' is lovely. It's a nice word. Yeah. It's not a real swear word. And he said he likes that. I always believe in first trying what's thrown at you before you start saying, oh, my character wouldn't do that and all that nonsense. That's just fear. I feel that's just fear. Try what's thrown at you because, sometimes, he's been thinking about it as a director for months before you even knew about it. He's also got the years on you, That actor has his own instincts, which are different from yours. Maybe there's a wonderful alchemy between his instincts and yours. So my whole thing is learn the lines, be limber, and be brave, and come into the room and see what people throw at you. And then it starts forming. It starts, this is a very physical interpretation of Othello. I never once thought, oh, I'm going to be physical with Othello. It just happened in the room when the emotions started coming, different things started happening, and you're open to that because the language is in there. The language then starts leading you. Yeah. The language leads you into even your physical choices, which you can't do unless you're really rooted in them.
Because you like to go to coffee houses, loud places, right? I
love to go to noisy places and learn my lines because if I can do it in those places, when I get to the rehearsal room where it's quiet and focused, it's easy. So that's where I learn my lines, in coffee shops and subways and walking down the street. And there's a lot of people in New York and London that think I'm actually mad. Because they just see me in the corner with my, cortado going.
See, a lot of New Yorkers, you see that when you go to a coffee shop and you watch someone. I recite lines on the street every day, dialogue or whatever.
It's wonderful
or
to
an
just
intro.
keep it running in your head so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. It's such a big role. Mm-hmm. How challenging is it for you? What are the challenges of this role of Othello?
It's emotionally draining.
Yeah.
Even when I played Hamlet, Hamlet has these wonderful soliloquies that when it starts getting really rough, he then looks at the audience and says, to be or not to be. That is the question, help me with that. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or let me talk to you about this, is what he's doing. Othello doesn't have soliloquies, he doesn't. It's all in his head, it's all in his mind. He's trying to figure it out himself, and then he thinks he's figured it out, and it's like, but it's never like, can I talk to you about this? Can I, there's no, that this too solid flesh would melt thorn, resolve itself. There's no, I'm suffering here. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's none of that. He just suffers. So I find it very difficult because there aren't no release valves. There's no escape valves. There's no coming down. It's like he's on that pitch and he's constantly balancing love, hate, murder, redemption, honor, all those things constantly. It's not as big, they're not as, Iago has more lines, Hamlet has more lines, all this, but it's the nature of it, it's the stakes of him that make him really difficult. That's why I'm not in a hurry to play him again. Do you know what I mean?
No, I love how you say there's no release to your character, which is quite interesting, because he's always fighting these different sides through the entire show.
Absolutely, yeah.
Interesting.
Constantly, it's coming at him and he's fighting. I tried once in rehearsal to see if I could say there's a speech he has, why did I marry this honest creature doubtless sees and knows much more than the unfold or curse of marriage that we can call these delicate creatures ours or not. I tried that once to the audience and it just seemed so cheap. It just seemed so, this was in the rehearsal, it just seemed so easy. Yeah. It just seemed I'm letting myself off the hook. And it seemed like I was begging for sympathy. It's not. He doesn't have an awareness of your sympathy. He is his judge and jury of his life, of that island, literally, and of his life. So there is no release valve, so he has to take it on. He has to take the burden. And that's what makes it hard, is not having, because I'm one of those actors, I love doing soliloquies to people. I love seeing their faces and their reactions, But I can't in this one. The only time I get to do that is the very beginning court scene. Her father loved me, often fine. But that's only because the audience become the court, as opposed to a soliloquy, which is like you're talking to them, Yeah. That's the only time. The rest of the time it's just him dealing with it. That's what makes it really hard. And he loves her. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care whatever the motivations are, whether it's right or wrong to kill her. The fact is that he loves her, but he kills her. And you got to resolve that somehow with yourself. And it's never resolved, but I just have to do it. And it's hard.
How long was the rehearsal process?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
When did you feel that you were on the right page? Like you said, I have him now. Was there a point during rehearsal where you said, I have him now?
I knew, not that I have him, but I knew there was a point where I was like, okay, I have the ingredients now. And then let's just see what the casserole is going to turn out to be. Because I know for a long time, the first couple of weeks, I was struggling a great deal with the first half, the general, the guy in command. Because you can't play that. You have to find your version of that. You've got to tap into your version of that. So that, it's funny, I was more at home going to the psychosis and the madness and the whatever than I was with that general, And then I'd say into the third or fourth week, it's funny because Ruben gave me a note and just said, the beginning is really your only chance to be charming. I was like, and that was the key. I was like, okay, I'll just smile. And then suddenly the ease of the ruler came in and the ease of the man who commands thousands came in with that. And it was from that little note of, this is the only chance to be charming. I was like, okay, I know that.
See, isn't it great when you work with a great director who they give you one word that you like, oh, that unlocks everything for you.
Yeah. And it made that make sense. Yeah.
Not only is Shakespeare one of the greatest writers, but do you also think of him as a great director?
Yes, I do. I think.
Tell us why,
As my students here in the front row might know, I've always said that don't, long before Freud and everything like this guy was born and given to us as a gift, a bit like Mozart was and whatever, that for some reason they get it. They get life, they get humanity, and Mozart did it through his music and, Picasso through his art and Shakespeare with his language. They just get human nature so amazingly. So what does he do? He's gonna put a troupe together. They didn't have the time we had for rehearsal processes. The script, he was writing the stuff on the day. They were getting that stuff and doing it and trying it out. So what does he do if he wants to make sure they get there? He puts the code in the language. He puts the directing code in the lines they have to say. So this theory that Shakespeare doesn't give stage direction except for exit pursued by a bear or something like that, or exit and it's all it's nonsense. He's giving you directions all the time, in the sound of the words, the length of the words, how many syllables in a word, when he jumps from prose to verse, why does he do that then? Why does he have just a tiny bit of verse, then jumps back to prose? What's going on with you as a person? How do you do those consonant sounds one after the other? What's that telling? I heard thee say even now, thou likest not that when Cassio left my wife. What didst not like? Do you see what saying those sounds make you do? You're suddenly, what the hell are you talking about? You know? Those are the clues he gives you throughout, you know. I come into murder, because let's embrace what it is, the woman I love, and my speech starts with, it is the cause, it is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it to you, you chaste stars. It's the most monosyllabic speech in Shakespeare. And monosyllabic words, you can't rush them. If you rush them, you garble. So when you have to speak that deliberately, what is it doing to you as you build up the strength to kill your wife? He's giving you a direction of how to start that scene. So that's why I think he's not just the greatest writer, but the greatest director. And in a lot of modern writing, we don't have that. I mean, I love modern writing. I mean, I grew up wanting to be a movie star. I still hope to be. But we're not given writing like that, that lives in the language. The acting for that sort of stuff is all between the lines, as you guys know. It's what you do before you speak, is what you do after you speak, if you speak at all, you know. It's different with him, yeah.
That's beautiful. You know, a lot of people have always found, actors have found Shakespeare challenging. Just put your hand up. How many people find Shakespeare challenging as an actor? Okay. How many of you don't find it challenging? So it's interesting. So I was just going, you know, so you studied obviously with all these incredible people.
Yeah.
What is the best way into Shakespeare for people like the actors who are struggling with Shakespeare?
I would just say it's a mindset. I think it's ingrained in us very early. It's often taught badly at school. It starts with school. And I mean, I'm not blaming the teachers. I blame the curriculum that says you're supposedly doing, I don't know, Midsummer Night's Dream, but you only get to do 4 chapters in it, and a teacher reads it out, and you just sit there listening to someone read out Shakespeare, you know. The approach to it is all wrong initially. So there's initially a suspicion, deep suspicion. There's a sense of boredom, because that's probably how the class was. So we get to it as adults, and it's thrown at us, and we're like, well, I don't like Shakespeare, or I don't get Shakespeare. That's what I get, and I just go, why? It's English. Not only English, but the best English ever written. You love the characters, so why can't you connect with how they speak? Why is it a problem when someone gives you the most beautiful imagery to describe? How often in life are we like, God, I wish I could explain this. This is a guy that explains it for you. Yeah. So what a gift to be able to have someone put the... Florizel says to Perdita, a young kid, trying to figure out how to say how much what you do still betters what is done. I wish I'd said that at 16 to someone, you know what I mean? I just think that you've got to get over the fact that it's alien to you. You've got to get over the fact that it's something you have to be overly reverential about. You've got to be really brave. You've got to embrace the sounds of it. If there's a k sound and you're angry at someone, it probably is because he's relating it to that very rude word that starts with k. Embrace that. Don't be too cerebral with it. We overthink it. Yeah, you need to do the homework and think it, but it comes down to the sounds and the rhythms and the music, which is another thing Ruben's amazing at, being a musician himself, is the music of it. You can feel when you're going off. There are rules to be learned, don't get me wrong. There's line ending rules, there's all those rules. You can do that in a class. You can do that in less than a semester. You can learn the rules, but then you have to go and do it with bravery and get over the fact that it's alien. Really take your time with it. It's like learning music also. When I play the piano, I don't go, I'm going to just play this whole piece at once. I'll give myself 2 bars for that day if it's really difficult, you know. If it's easier, then I'll give myself longer than that. But just give yourself the time to know. You've got to know. What you have to know is know exactly what you're saying. It's not enough to have a general idea. Why does he use that word? The specificity of the imagery is key to Shakespeare. It's not a general wash. But overall, it's fear. It's fear that has come out of years of being made to think that it belongs to the elite. It doesn't belong to the elite. The people that loved Shakespeare and went there were the people that were slaughtering chickens and bear fighting next door. Those are the people that went. And they weren't even often they'd be in the play would be happening, they'd be doing something else, but they could hear it and understand it. So it doesn't belong to any elite class at all, you know.
My final question is, what is the best bit of advice that you've been given, either personally or professionally, that you live by?
Wow. This is about, I don't know if this, I mean, I'll probably go home and think, damn, I should have said this instead. But in that spirit of making sure you surround yourself with the right people, my agent, who's been my agent to this day, I remember there was a period I was going through this really horrible period, and Teresa, I wanted to take a job that has been offered to me, and she knew it wasn't the right job. And she knew there wasn't another job there, but she knew that wasn't the right job. And she said, I'm going to believe in you, even if you can't right now. So be around people that say that to you, because it's faith. And faith doesn't have proof. That's why it's called faith. And that's why it's a vocation, not a job. So that was one of the greatest things, is to understand that wherever you're at mentally, if you look around and there's still people that believe in you, then you're good.
I have been doing this. Clap, please. That was the best. I have been doing this for 26 years, and I have to tell you, this afternoon was perfect.
Oh, wow.
Your insight to all these actors that are here and watching around the world, it was a master class. I thank you. You're in the middle of doing Othello in the Park. You opened last night. You have a day off today. You spent it here with us. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been wonderful. If you haven't seen him in Othello, go see him in Othello.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
The very best.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Right.